How's it going, dreamers? My name's Acer, and in this video, I'm going to show you how to make a rideable mount for your character. So before we start, let me just show you what I'm going to be building. I'm in my RPG test level scene right now, and you see we have a mount. So if we press square, the character will get on it. All my controls are disabled, except the mount moving controls. We can move the mount, we can jump, we can attack. But I can't go into any menus, I can't do anything else unless I dismount. Now I get all my controls back. So I'm going to show you how to do this. So let's get started. We're going to be starting in a blank scene. So let's see what we can come up with. First, we need a character. And I'm just going to use one of the puppets. So let's use this little guy. Obviously, you would use your character, and it will work with your character, don't worry. Next, we need a mount. So let's try to find a mount. And mine's the first thing that comes up. Nice. It's remixable. Should we just use mine? So we have my mount. I wanted to find something else, but this works. Ooh, there's a lot of logic in this we don't need. Give me 1 second so I can delete all this. All right, so I pretty much deleted all of it except this chip, which lets us move it. So we have our mount, which is this guy. We have our player, which is this guy. I'm really quickly, I think I didn't do this yet. Yeah, let's set this to remote controllable. Okay, now we can control both at the same time. Perfect. Obviously, that's not what we want, but just to show you that, like, it's working. So now, how do we make this player mount the mount? So basically what we want is that the mount to just stand there. Or basically we want two states, right? We want the mount to have two different states, unmounted and mounted. So let's start with that. And then when the player mounts the mount, the player can't do anything but control the mount. All right, so let's get a state machine chip. Let's get a state machine chip. I like making my state machines with this little imp. We have two different states. We have unmounted and mounted. Default is unmounted, and then obviously mounted. If we are mounted, we want this to turn on. We want the test movement, right, to work. We want the movement to work. So bam, that was easy. For unmounted, nothing for now. Let's label our microchips. So unmounted and mounted. All right, great. Now, how do we become mounted and what happens when we are mounted? I'm going to set this up assuming you might have multiple mounts in this game. So how about this? When we're mounted, and I'm not necessarily setting this up how I did in my game. In my game, there's only one mount, right? But in yours, you might have multiple. So let's do this. Let's turn on a tag called mount. Maybe like position, sitting position. Sitting position, and this tag needs to be. Oh, we already have that. Okay. We have that tag right here, mount player position. This is very important, guys. So your mount that you get off the Dreamiverse or that you create might not have this. It is very important to put the sitting position. You need the scope in. See how it's scoped in onto the body? You need the scope in and put it on the body. If you just put it in this scope right here, the player won't move with the mount. So not properly anyway. You really want this tag scoped in. And this is the tag that the player is going to be teleporting to, by the way. All right, so we already have that. Let's get rid of that. We do want maybe like mounted. How about something like that? So this tag turns on if this specific mount is mounted. And we also want to, let's turn on. So I predict if we have multiple of these mounts, we need to know which tag we go to. So let's turn off this tag. And then if this mount is mounted, we turn it back on with this keyframe. Make sure it's on like that. Okay. Great. So when this mount is being mounted, we turn on that tag, we turn on this tag, and we are able to move it. So let's set up the logic to actually like mount it. So like, how do we know when we mount it? So let's set that up now. Let's put this in a chip, and we need 4 chips, maybe. We need an exclusive gate. We need a tag, and we need a NOT gate. No, sorry, a calculator. Set to greater than or equals, or set then greater than. Set to greater than. All right, this exclusive gate will be for interactions, so let's call it interact. And we are going to put this tag's output directly into the priority, multiplying it by. So we will have a zone on the player. Let's put this in a chip. Let's call this interactions, or interacting. Interactions, sure. We will have a zone in the player that senses interact point tags. So this is an interaction point. This tutorial is not on interacting, but it does cover it. So interaction point, great. This zone will sense interaction points. We need this to be fall off. This is very important. This needs to be fall off. Okay. Let's 2 is good. 2 is good. It needs to be fall off. The reason we're using exclusive gates like this is so that if 2 interaction points, if you're in range within 2 interaction points, only one of them will be activated. And that's what this logic does. Because it's fall off, the tag doesn't output a value from 0 or 1. It outputs a value from 0 to 1. So the priority will, so only one of these exclusive gates will be on based on how close you are. Awesome. So now we need, so this is the interaction point. How about something to trigger, so how about something to actually like activate it, right? So we need to sense the square button being pressed. So let's grab this. Let's set it to remote controllable, which it is. Actually, let's set this one to possessible force possession, and then get rid of the depossess. All right, and let's get another zone. Let's make this scene wide, and this zone is going to be what actually activates it. So this is going to be called interact, and this tag will only be on if this exclusive gate is on, and this will sense interact globally. Awesome. So when you press square, this zone turns on. But you can only do this. I mean, this doesn't really matter, but I just like this. So you'll only be able to do this if you're actually sensing an interaction point. So if this value is greater than 0, then you can press this button, which will activate this tag. Awesome. So when this tag is activated, that means you've interacted with it. So if it's greater than 0, I mean, you don't even need that. You don't even need that. Sorry. Let's just put it out through a node. So if this tag is sensed, that means you've successfully interacted with this, which means you should be put into the mounted state, which is B. Bam. So if you're in A, which is the unmounted state, you can be put into B, which is the mounted state. Okay. And in B, we can mount it. So this should already work, but there's a couple issues. So let's just test it. So we walk up to it. Actually, we press square here, nothing happens. We press square here, nothing happens. Okay, so obviously we did something wrong. So it looks like this must have been, oh, well, there you go. These controls need to be remote controllable. And there you go, now it works, cool. So press square, now we can control it. So what's next? When we are mounted, So when this tag is on, mounted, these controls need to be off. And some other stuff needs to happen. So let's add another chip. Let's call it mounted. It's always important to name your microchips, guys. And when the mounted tag is sensed, mounted, when the mounted tag is sensed anywhere, we need a couple things to happen. The first thing is to turn off our controls of the character. So we're going to do that with a keyframe. We're just going to go in, and what do we want to turn off? Probably this entire thing. Let's just turn off this entire thing. Obviously, for your case, it will vary, but generally speaking, if you're on the mount, you want the character's controls to be turned off. Great. So what else? There's only one other thing that I'm aware. Two other things. First, you want to teleport, right? You want to be teleported to this specific tag, mount player position. So let's grab a teleporter. And teleporters can only teleport to tags. So we're going to teleport to mount player position. And we want target orientation and position to be matched. Now, I don't know why he's in that pose. Okay, now, where specifically should this gizmo be? Remember, the tag is on the top of the back, right? So we want the gizmo to be right about here. Right about there. Maybe use the grid to center this a little bit better. That's not centered. Okay. There we go. There we go. So I'm holding the gizmo and pressing triangle. Now I can use precise move and lower this down. Z is down, Y is forward. Let's see what this gizmo is. So Y is up, Z is forward. So we obviously want these to match. So let's rotate this. So Y is up, Z is forward is what it should be. Bam. Perfect. All right, so this teleporter will turn on if we're mounted, and our controls will turn off. The last thing we need to do is unmount. Now, do we put the unmounted controls in the mount, or do we put that in the player? Personally, I think it makes more sense to put it in the player, so you're not repeating logic. So let's put the unmount controls right here. If you are mounted, if you are on a mount, and you press square, for example, let's make this remote controllable, of course, what happens? We want to unmount, right? So let's make a tag that's called mount, unmount. I'm doing this syntax, by the way, the mount and then the bar and then unmount. It's just what I do. You can name it whatever you want. It's just an easy way to search for the tags if you have a lot of tags. Anyway, so square will unmount, but this will only activate if you are already mounted. And now in the mount, we need to sense if this is pressed, right? So let's sense the mount unmount tag. Okay, there it is. Globally. Sorry. And if mount unmount is sensed, we go to A. And this should only be able to be sensed if we're in B. Finally, let's put both of these things in a chip. So this is the state machine, right? This selector is the state machine. This is like what changes the states. I like to put that stuff in a chip, like this. And then maybe we can use some nodes to neaten it up. So this node is from if you're in state A. This node is on if you're in state B. And, oh, no, other way around. So let's do that. So this is on if you're in state A. So state A is unmounted. And this is on if you're in state B, which is mounted. Look at that. Very nice. Very nice. So it should work right now. This should work. Probably won't, but who knows? Okay, so there is an issue. Because we turned off the controller sensor, it ejected our imp, and we do not want that. So let's see. One solution would be to just turn off this stuff and leave the controller sensor on. Another solution would be to have another controller sensor suck up the imp. So this is the controller sensor that's sucking up the imp. And then we make this controller sensor remote controllable. And I believe that, I like that solution more. There. So now when we press square, we got, okay, so what just happened there? We mounted it and then immediately unmounted. The reason is because pressing square is in multiple different places. And there are different solutions to this. So, but what do I mean by that? We can press square here in the interact, which mounts us, right? And then we can press square here in the unmount. One solution would be to have the square press be in one controller sensor only, and then pulse it. But I'm going to do a different solution, I think. Let me think about this just for a second. All right, so I'm just going to do the simple solution just to get it working. I personally have a chip that handles all the controls. Just in my projects, that's what I do. In these demos, I don't do that just because it's like outside the scope of the demo. So what I'm going to do is make it so that this only activates after 0.1 seconds. All right. So if you hold square, it will still immediately eject, but you'll have to hold it for 0.1 seconds. So actually, let's make it 0.3 seconds. So when we power, hold on. Okay. So when you're mounted, it will both reset and power on this timer. If a timer is powered on and there's nothing in the play in the start timer, it will just autoplay. So it'll reset, then autoplay to 0.3, and then once it's finished, it turns on the controller sensor. So now, if we hold square, notice how you're not immediately ejected. So when we just press square, or if we just press it for a little too long, it's still fine. We're having a similar problem. We can immediately remount it. So let's do the exact same thing. Where should we put the timer? Probably right here. So once we get to state A, which is unmounted, you cannot remount for 0.3 seconds. We're gonna do the exact same thing. Yeah, these timer buffers help a lot with polish. So if I hold square, notice how it's not immediately remounting. This feels pretty good. And it's working. It's working. So the last thing, which you probably noticed, is the animation, which is T-pose. And that is not okay. So let's make it so the player has an animation, or rather a pose, when they're mounted. And where do we put this logic? Well, we put it in the mounted chip. So when we're mounted, and actually, I do want to set this up differently because this is super messy at the moment. I'm going to just copy and paste this for the name alone. And we're going to put this chip. We're going to put this chip in this chip. Instead of doing a bunch of these wires like this, all I'm going to do is this. Now, this timer system does not work anymore, so we want to fix that. And also make sure the keyframe is powered on by default. Now we can just use a NOT gate. Like that. So every time this chip turns on, it'll reset. Watch. Notice how the timer reset? So that's exactly what we want. Okay. Perfect. So let's put the animation in here. What is this? I've already forgotten what this keyframe does. Okay, this keyframe turns off our controls. So turn off character controls. Always name your keyframes, guys, please. please. And now let's do another keyframe, which is the pose. And what's the pose? Pretty much just the legs spread out a little bit. We're going to turn on Puppet Mirror for this. And we're going to turn the grid off. Spread the legs, bend the knees. We can put the hands wherever. For this, I don't really care. Like at all. So that's fine. So let's try this animation. Do I want a transition? I don't think so. Let's just do 0.1 though, just to make it a little less jarring. And also let's make sure this is on by default. All right, let's try it. So when we walk up and press square, we're riding him. Let's spread out the legs a little bit more, but also we may need to change the teleporter gizmo location to be higher, so the character is higher. So, oh wow, that's way too high. My bad. That is my bad. There. That should be much better. That's too high. Too high. Okay. I wonder if we can change it like while we're playing, just so we don't have to keep going in and out. So if we play... Oh, that is not what we want. Okay, let's pause it. And raise it, and then play. There we go. So how does that look? It's a little... So let's move it that way. Oh, that was the wrong way. My bad. That's better. I don't know why he's slowly moving backwards. I think it's because they're collidable with each other, which is kind of awkward. So can we disable collision? But it looks good, by the way. It looks good. I like how this turned out. So the hands are not liking what the hands are doing. Let's just get rid of the hand animation completely. There. Maybe you can have some sort of reins so the hand have somewhere to go, but it's fine. This is fine for now. Okay, so what's next? Because this is looking pretty good. It's kind of awkward how we're moving backwards. I believe it's because of the collision with the character. Can we disable character collision while we're on the mount? Let's try it. So, collidable. Let's just turn it off. We do not want to disable mount collision because the mount is the thing actually moving. So, disable character collision. All right, let's make sure it's on by default, and let's try it. Okay, notice how the mount is not backing up, although now the character is slouching. Oh boy. Okay. So somehow disabling the character's collision makes it slouch over. That's really weird. I guess that's not the solution. What if we made it not collide with the mount? Maybe that would work. This is really weird. The mount needs to be collidable. We should definitely move the mount collider though. It's in a weird spot. Maybe that alone will fix it. No, still you still see that moving backwards. It's because the player's colliding. Oh man, that's so annoying. What can we do to fix this? Okay, let's try this. Instead of disabling the character's collision, let's just make the character's collision cube thing, collision sphere thing, different. So let's just make it like basically non-existent, I guess. Let's try that. Okay, so that worked. Really hacky solution, but honestly, I mean, it's exactly what we want, right? The character has no collision while it's on the mount. Yeah, there you go. And now the character has its collision back when it's off the mount. Awesome. So what else is there? Okay, there's one last thing. But wait, this is perfect. This is going really well. We want some sort of interact notification kind of thing. So when we're unmounted, when we're in A, right? Or actually, let's just put it here. No. Where should we put this? Probably here. Let's put it in here. So this chip is where we're doing the interaction. Let's call this interact. Right, so when this exclusive gate output is on, that means we're in range to interact with it, to mount it. So this is where we want our text displayer. You can put this in scene. I'm going to put it on screen though. Call it mount with square. All right. Let's make it look fancy because why not? Painterly fade. All right, cool. Let's make the text look nicer. And let's make it at the bottom of our screen. Let's try it. There you go. That's exactly what we wanted. All right, we've got a mount that we can mount and unmount and then ride around. Let's see what happens when we have multiple. Now, with my RPG system, you can't have multiple mounts at the same time. But with this, I don't see why not. In fact, I set it up so you could. So let's try it. Okay. Slight bug. That's okay, though. Massive bug. So something's wrong. So if we're in range of... Okay. Some slight interference. So if you only plan on having one mount, video's over. You're fine. You're free to go. But let's see if we can fix this. Okay. If we're mounted, we need our interactions to not be on, right? So basically, if we're mounted, we have to be not mounted for this to work. So let's grab an AND gate. Because remember, the interaction isn't for unmounting, it's only for mounting. So if we press, if we're next to an interaction point and we're not mounted, then we can interact. Let's try this. We might need some sort of timer delay here. Okay, so that worked. Okay, so it worked. I think it's working if I tap it really, really quick. Yeah, see, it works. Okay, so now I was right. We need some sort of timer delay, or buffer time. We need a delay between unmounting and mounting for different ones, if that makes sense. So when we're unmounted, right? When we're not mounted for a certain amount of time, for 0.3 seconds. So when this is on for this amount of time, then and only then can we mount something else. So let's try it now. There we go. It's working. We can see. Okay, that's not working though. Why did that happen? I'm actually really surprised that happened because we're using exclusive gates. All right, so I've been doing some more testing and it seems to be working now, and I don't know why. But I'm gonna be honest, like, I don't know why it wasn't working at all. because like we're using exclusive gates. We shouldn't have been able to control both at the same time. It looks like it's working now, which is good. So one more thing. Let me just test it one more time. That's so weird. What the heck? Why wasn't it working and why is it working now? All right, fair enough. It's working. That's good. I'm gonna delete these because there's one more thing I want to do. So you probably noticed that the mount notification was going on even though we were already mounted. So we just need to disable that. So when we're mounted, which is this. So when we're mounted, I don't want, let's just do that, doesn't matter. I don't want the notification going off. I don't even want you to be able to interact. So maybe we do this. Maybe we do this. Let's put an AND gate here. So if you've been in A for 0.3 seconds and you're not mounted from any other existing mount. Right? Yeah. So we didn't need this, but when we only had one mount, but now that we have two mounts, we do need this. Or multiple mounts, rather, not just two. So let's try it. Yeah, I can only control one. Okay, so notice how there's no more notification, no more on-screen indicator until we get off. All right, one more thing. I'm going to, I did make it, I made it on screen. I'm gonna make it in scene because it's very confusing to know which mount you're trying to mount. So where do we put the notification? We put it here. Put it right here. Let's make this in scene. Let's make this in scene. So I'm gonna press in scene. Let's turn on rotation. Let's rotate it. Probably should be using the grid for this. It's okay though. Face camera. Turn back off rotation. Okay. Okay, there we go. So no rotation. Face camera is on. We'll put the mount notification here, I guess. Very nice. Very nice. Okay, and final test. Let's put multiple. Perfect. Perfect. I'm so dumb sometimes. Okay, so we stand in the middle. Notice how we can only mount one of them, and it's the one that's closest. There you go. It works. We get off. Can only control one at a time. Yeah, that's cool. So now, so this is a way for your character to ride a mount. This is how you make a mount for your character. Let me know if you like this tutorial format of me basically making it from scratch. I really hope this video helped out. This was a viewer suggested tutorial. If you have any tutorials that you want me to do, let me know and I will probably do them. But yeah, anyway guys, I really hope this video helped. This was a fun one to do. If you need more Dreams help, I stream Dreams on Twitch every Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday. And I also have a Discord community where you can ask for help, talk about Dreams, talk about anything. Yeah, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. Have a fantastic rest of your day, and hopefully I'll see you later.
I just wanna be with